My girlfriend and I just spent the last 6 months driving around Australia. Whilst the memories are priceless, the fuel was not. So to keep track of our spending, we wrote down every dollar we spent. Now we have a log of our spending to share with you. So if you want to know what your lap is going to cost you, then stay tuned. Hi guys, I'm Aiden and I'll be running you through your big lap spend. Now, whilst it's a very exciting time lapping our gorgeous country, it does come at a cost. A cost you probably want to know before chucking your gear in the car and heading on your way. My girlfriend and I were on the road for 6 months and we saw absolutely everything. Most people will usually take about 6 months to a year to do their big lap, so I'll show you my breakdown of our 6 months of spending, as well as an estimate I've made of what I think it will cost you to go for a year. Also, it's worth noting that this is the cost for 2 people traveling in a 4-wheel drive that's pretty self-sufficient with a rooftop tent. If you've got a different setup, then you'll just have to tweak a few things here and there to match your situation. But don't worry, I'll point out where you could be saving or spending more money than we did. If you want to know exactly how we were set up, then I'll leave a link to the video I've made of our exact setup running through the entire car, somewhere on the screen now or in the description below. So without further delay, let's jump onto the laptop and get into it. Alright, so I've got my Excel spreadsheet up here and it contains literally every dollar we spent on our trip. Whatever we were spending money on, we got into the notes of our phone and just put it down so we'd know and could reflect on it when we got home. I've got it categorized into different categories, so fuel, food, setup costs, etc. So I'm going to run through you all of those different categories and I'm going to start with the most expensive category, which was fuel. So for fuel, we spent on average $1.86 per litre and we spent a total of $8,172 on fuel. That was for 29,735 kilometres. So not too bad. You're obviously doing a lot of kilometres when you go around the country. It will vary as well with your car. We had a big diesel V8 Landcruiser 200 series. So it'll vary for you. So maybe look at your literage and then look at the price of fuel. Our next biggest cost was our setup cost. So that came in at $7,595. And this was getting a bull bar sorted, a lift, a snorkel, tent, drawers, anything and everything that you could imagine to turn a stock 4-wheel drive into something that you could live in and drive around the country in. So yeah, $7,595. It's gonna be expensive, but you wanna do it right so that you can enjoy your trip and not have to be having terrible gear that you're just gonna hate a month in. Okay, so our third biggest expense was food. We spent $5,016 on food, which is not too bad for 6 months. Probably what you'd end up spending at home, if not less. We don't drink, so there was not a heap of money to be spent on alcohol, which obviously if you drink, that's another factor you have to put in to our calculation. We weren't slumming it, but we didn't go out for dinner every night. We were pretty often to Coles and just making food with our stove. I suppose that's why you buy it anyways, and you're camping, so you're making a lot of food anyways, so you probably won't spend a lot of money on going out. Our fourth biggest expense, and one that might vary a lot from person to person, was travel and experiences. So for us, this was diving with the whale sharks in Ningaloo. We obviously were over in the Great Barrier Reef as well on the East Coast. There's a lot of expensive things that you can do, and it just kind of depends if you want to go out and do the free things or if you want to mix in a bit of both. We didn't go out and spend money on anything and everything. There were obviously times where we reeled it in a bit and didn't go crazy, but yeah, if you want to do the fun things and the expensive things, it adds up pretty quickly. Our fifth largest expense, and quite low on the list really, is accommodation. So obviously when you're camping and you've got to set up like aisles, and this is where if you can't free camp a lot, this will go up a lot because caravan parks are like $35 a night. So we spent total $2,980 for the 6 months. Our sixth expense was kind of a one-off and probably not going to apply to you, so you can probably scratch this one off, but it might apply to you. It's an injury. So my girlfriend burnt her foot pretty bad. It was my fault. Boiling pot of water on the ground. I'm an idiot, I know. So she burnt her foot pretty bad, and we were in Tasmania. We had to go to Hobart so that they could look after it. And we, of course, had to get accommodation. It's pretty hard when you've got an injury of any sort to be living in a rooftop tent. You got to climb up a ladder. You have to cook outside. It's not good. So that's our expense and what we spent on that, which was $2,318 for the accommodation for 2 weeks. But you might want to factor this into your spend, because it helps to have a bit of extra money just to know that if you get sick, if you break a leg, you can just rest and get accommodation. Okay, so our next expense was car maintenance, and this pretty much is just servicing and a few odd things here and there, like tires. We had a puncture we had to sort out, and then had to get a new tire when we had a really bad puncture. It will happen, so prepare for it. And that was $1,557. Not too bad for 30,000 Ks and just a lot of time on the road. The next category is gear on the road. So like I said before, you probably want to get your setup right before you leave, but there'll be a few things that you just won't get right, and you'll find out pretty quickly. And we spent $602 on that. Once you get it sorted, it's good, you're done. You don't have to think about it. We had a leaky tent, had to sort that, had to go out and get all the tools to fix it, because you don't want to be living with that for 6 months. So the next one is passes. We spent $354 on national park passes, and there was passes like to Monkey Mia, to go see the dolphins as well, but mainly national park passes. The next one is just other items. So that was showers, washing, just random little things that just came up. And our last expense was stickers. So this is kind of a personal one. I'll put up a picture of the back of our car now. We spent $178 on stickers. We just loved them. We just wanted to show them off and show all the cool places we'd been. And now for some things where we made a bit of money back. Pretty unlikely, but we made $7,000 profit on our car. We bought it for $44,000 plus stamp duty, rego and insurance up to $47,000, and then we sold it for $54,000. So we put a bull bar on it, a snorkel on it, a few things like that, but pretty unusual to make $7,000 off a car you've driven 30,000 Ks. And then the last one was gear sales. We sold all of our gear when we got home. That was like the tent, the drawers, things that you can sell. Obviously can't really sell like spoons and spatulas, it's a bit gross. And we sold that for a total of $2,907. And the most expensive things in there were like the tent and the drawers. Now we're gonna jump across to my 1 year estimate. So basically what I've done is I've put the categories of spending like I just outlined, and I put a multiplier for what I think you'll spend over the year versus 6 months, and then obviously the actual estimate, and then why I think you're gonna spend X amount more. So the first one is fuel. I reckon you'll spend about 1.5 times more on fuel if you go for a year. Obviously you're still doing the lap, but you're probably gonna move in and out of places a bit more, hang around, drive around towns a little bit more. So that'll be $12,259. The next one's setup costs. So I think that's a one-off. I think you're not gonna spend any more money, so we're leaving that at $7,595. The next one, food. I think you're just gonna spend twice as much. You're going for 6 months, you're going for a year, you're gonna eat twice as much, $10,032. Travel and experiences. I think that you'll probably spend 1.5 times more. You know, there's more things to see when you're stuck in a town for a bit longer. You might want to do that tour that you might not have had time to do if you're only going for a few days to that town, if you're doing 6 months. So I said $6,993. Accommodation, I think that's like food as well. You're gone for twice as long, it's twice as many days you have to find accommodation. So $5,960 for a year. Car maintenance, I reckon probably 1.5 times, just because you probably don't have to do things like changing headlight bulbs like we had to, and you probably might service the car one more time. Like we serviced it twice. I reckon maybe you'd service it 3 times if you went for a year. And for that one, that was $2,336. Gear on the road is our next category. I think, 1.5 times. In that next 6 months, you might find a few more things you need to buy, and maybe because you're gone for longer, if you find something at the start, maybe you'll be like, oh, it's kind of expensive, but we'll just cop it because you've got 11 months left of the trip. So I said $903 for the year. Passes are 1.5 as well, I said, but maybe even closer to 1 just because there's only so many national parks you want to go to. So $531 is what I said for the year. I think other things just come up, so twice as many for those, so $593. A few things that I actually took out of the list was stickers. You don't need to buy them. The cooked foot, the injury we had, you might not happen to you and you might not have to get that accommodation, and camera gear that we bought, which was $1,300. You don't have to obviously get that. And now for the profit items, I reckon for gear sales, you probably have like 0.8 times as much back, just because you're going for longer, you're wearing out the gear a bit more. So instead of getting maybe $2,900 back at the end, you might get like $2,300 for a year just for that extra usage. And then for car profit, I said the opposite. I said you actually probably lose money on your car. I think it's unlikely after doing a big lap with your car and adding so many more kilometers that you'll make money on your car. So I said you'll probably lose about $3,500 on your car. And obviously, look at how much your car costs. Is it going to depreciate? Are you going to keep the car? Does it really not matter that you're putting kilometers on? That one, you can kind of be subjective for that one. So yeah, $3,500. So that's it. That's the total. And we have come to $48,377 for 2 people to travel around Australia for 1 year. That's not too bad. It's about $4,000 a month, and that includes getting your car completely set up and every single dollar you're going to spend on the road. So pretty good. You know, people spend double, triple, quadruple times that if you were to go to, say, Europe for a year. It's a cheap holiday and you will love it. So highly recommend it. And if you want to see more of our lap, I've got plenty of other videos on the channel. Check them out. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope that this helps you in calculating what you're going to spend on your trip, and start saving now so that you can do it sooner.